That's what we want to do. Good evening. It is May 14th, 2024. I'm Glenda Carlin Busick, B-U-S-I-C-K. I go by my maiden name, Carlin, but on Facebook, it's Glenda Carlin Busick, B-U-S-I-C-K, in case you want to private message me, ask a question, or anything. And first of all, I want to, and they're always here, Jesus, Buddha, enlightened beings, ascended masters, but we invite them in. I invite you all in. Please help me, guide me what to do or say to help my brothers and sisters wake up from the dream, the illusion we've ever been separate, incomplete, or apart, and help these brothers and sisters gain their own insights, what they need to hear from this teaching to help them further along the path and save them time. That's what I want to do, is save each of you time. Even though time's an illusion, we want to use it each instant, each moment. And, this week I was talking to, I forget, let's see who. Oh, it was Julia Bradley that comes here, DeBose. And it's when we talk about moment to moment, the real reality is the present moment. This moment, this breath, only breath. We can use our breath to come in and be aware of the moment, this moment. Then in that moment, can we become aware of what am I seeing? What am I thinking? What am I doing? What am I saying? And then lean back and think about my brother and sisters and myself as holy children of God. But more than that, call yourself, Jesus says, call yourself by the name you are, which is God, because there's only God. God presence, isness, beingness, we all inner be. Picture this light, this clear light that's God light, source light. It's clear, and it's going through each form that's here. It's flowing through each form, lighten up every cell. As you awaken, you lighten up your form, because your form's an image in your mind. And as you awaken, the light that you are, you become more of a light beam, which is what you are. But that light, that clear light of love, interconnects everything. It animates everything, or things wouldn't be alive and growing. We'd be dead ducks in the graveyard or cremated. When that light, we let go of that light, which then, the breath follows. The breath follows in unison with the light that comes in and goes out in that flow. It's called the living Tao, the living force, the living God, etc. Well, anyway, the topic of tonight's teaching is reach for Jesus's hand and join your mind with his mind as we transcend the ego. Now, how that came about, this teaching came about, was I was sitting in my chair, recognizing that I was resting. I was resting in this clear light. And it's called just being, capital B-E-I-N-G, or enter, I-N-T-E-R, B-E-I-N-G, with God, like interbeing, because there's only this continuous light that is, we are in. And researching for this teaching, I found, this is in chapter 8, places where Jesus is telling us, you who belong in God. And then it says, there's different quotes I found where Jesus is saying, you are in God. And see, that was a question I had. I couldn't quite decide, was I in God, or was this form a projection on God light, but the deal is we're in even this image that's animated by the light is in God's light. We are in God's mind, this clear love light. That's a big deal. But anyway, that just put that in your hat and smoke it. What is your true self? Is where are you? Let alone what are you? Where are you? But anyway, so then I forget how then I went to section 8. And in section 8, chapter 8, section 5, in the section before 5 is named the 3's the holy encounter, and 4 is called the gift of freedom. And then 5, you get to the undivided will of the sonship. So I was reading those sections before 5, the undivided will of the sonship, because Jesus will lead up to stuff, right? And I'm wanting to get perspective. And in those sections, here's what Jesus says. By joining your mind with mine, you are signifying your awareness that the will of God is one. And see, we talk about, I never knew what the heck the will of God meant. Well, the will of God is that you remember you're not alone and separate. There's only a union and this oneness. And it really goes beyond oneness to isness. There's just isness of this God clear light. But anyway, it's just a fine point. And then Jesus says elsewhere in that area, chapter, let the love of God shine upon you by your acceptance of me. See, that's Jesus talking. He wants you to accept him. My reality is yours and his, that means God. Reach therefore for my hand because you want to transcend the ego. Now, why I'm doing this teaching is I'm looking back on what all has happened and how this Dzogchen Buddhism has helped speed me along, because it gives me sentences and truths that I go back into the Course and go, that's what Jesus was talking about. Now, we've talked about that. It talks about meditation, chanting, and singing. I never knew that was in the Course, but it is. Chanting and singing hymns of love, and meditations throughout the Course. But anyway, I digress. Here's the thing is that Dzogchen Buddhism, I meditate almost every day with this group, and we do these chants and prayers. And we do them and say them in Tibetan, and then we'll say them in English. And slowly I've learned to say these words in Tibetan, but the bigger deal is to let the vibration vibrate through the form and the mind as you learn these words, but also then we read the sentences and I contemplate what these sentences mean. And I'd ask Holy Spirit, what's that mean? But here's what we would chant. And this one's called the Pali, P-A-L-I, refuge. Oh, wait, I should preface this. These prayers I want to discuss with you it's where I learned the word refuge and rest, but they talk about, and that Lama Surya Das talks about, and all these different holy people, enlightened people, beings, they talk about just rest. And then they'll say, just rest your weary heart and mind. Boy, that struck a note in me, because I hadn't thought about, oh yeah, I'm weary. Weary of this struggle, of this, not knowing what I am, what you are, what God is, etc., how to be guided by spirit, etc. Busy trying to do things versus being, B-E-I-N-G. But I didn't know how to be either. But yet, with these chants, it talks about resting or taking refuge. And they talk about taking refuge in three things: the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma. Dharma means truce. And in the Buddha, just change that to Jesus, take rest in Jesus. So, until the reaching of full enlightenment, we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, these truths, and the Sangha, which is this group or community of like-minded people that support us. And we can call them or chat them or email them, and we support each other. But I'm gonna say these chants at what we do, called Pali, P-A-L-I, refuge. And that chant says, I take refuge. We need to mute. Julia, can you mute? Or
Sorry, I'm
Leon,
so sorry.
Joan, there you go. I take refuge in the enlightened Buddha. So just change that to Jesus. I take refuge in the sublime Dharma teaching, that's truth. And Jesus says in the Course, I learned to sort true from false, which is something you still have yet to do, or doing yet to do. I take refuge in the noble Sangha community. That's this group, this support group. And then there's a prayer called Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer. In Buddha, Dharma, and supreme spiritual community, we go for refuge until fully enlightened. By the power of all six perfections, from generosity to non-dual wisdom, for the sake of all beings, may we realize Buddhahood. Well, I didn't get that for the longest time. And that's what I'm going to be discussing tonight about chapter 8, section 5. Jesus is asking us to how we think of our brothers is how we think of ourselves, but also that we can help awaken our brothers. We're not fixing them. We're just thinking of them as spirit, as this holy light. But we're awakening so that the light we are radiates out and touches their light, or just our thoughts, our holy, loftier thoughts go out and help them in their mind. But anyway, for the sake of all beings, may we realize Buddhahood. So besides that we're awakening for our own self, we want to go from me to we, meaning I want to help all my brothers and sisters. And just so you know what the six transcendental virtues or perfections, see, transcendental in this quote tonight, Jesus uses the word transcendence. Transcendence means beyond, going beyond, rising above, up. Transcendence. So there's, in this Buddha Dzogchen group, they practice six transcendental virtues or perfections, they're called, where we're going from our egoic, selfish, greedy, ignorant, ego self to this awakened Christ Buddha self. And those perfections are generosity, meaning generosity of your mind, and verbal support for people, giving people a shoulder to lean on, or could be helping out at a food kitchen, or giving actual money to help a spiritual group. I don't know. Generosity, ethics, how do you think? What do you think, say, and do? Patient forbearance, meaning you're persistent. Joyous effort. What kind of effort are you doing? Or am I just kind of forcing this? I'm not joyous in my pursuit of awakening. Meditation and wisdom. But anyway, we practice. Jesus is doing all those same virtues with the Course in Miracles. We're transcending this small egoic self to this higher Christ, Buddha nature, God nature. Now, what bodhicitta means, because the name of that prayer was Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer. Bodhicitta means, translates as awakening mind. Now, see why I'm bringing that? That's what we're doing. You each are awakening this Christ Buddha mind. And it's called bodhicitta, awakening mind, or thought of enlightenment, is the commitment to embark on a path of awakening and be a bodhisattva, one dedicated to the liberation of all beings. Bodhicitta is born of compassion, the desire to free all beings from suffering, even those who wish us harm or consider us enemies. That's the Course in Miracles as well. Bodhicitta is you're committed to, you're embarking. That's what you all are doing by studying the Course, meditating, coming to this Zoom meeting on the path of awakening and being a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is one dedicated to the liberation of all beings. So put that in your notes, because until we go from me to we, which is what this teaching is going to be here about tonight, you could escalate your learning instead of just me awakening. But anyway, all right. Now, so what I did, see, I printed out what I sent out to you all, and then I studied in the Course today, sitting in my chair. I found sentences I'm going to read, but I wanted to talk about that because of that Dzogchen group and meditating. I've learned to lean back and rest, take refuge in the Buddha. And I didn't really know what I was doing, but in the Buddha meant that that's the higher nature of my mind. But Jesus is asking you to really take refuge in him. Because remember, I found these sentences. Because when I rest in Buddha, I would lean back and think about what Buddha's picture looked like. And lean back, I would join as best I could my mind with his mind. And that's just how I visualize, just that I'm leaning back, and mind is this clear space, God mind, my Christ Buddha mind. And think about, I'm joining my mind with Buddha. But tonight I'm asking you to think about, Jesus is asking you to join your mind with his. But see, I didn't realize that was in the Course. So that's why I'm teaching about this tonight. These chants we're doing is the same thing. Buddha's asking his group of people that believe in him, rest in me, rest in me, rest. And Jesus is saying, rest in him. And he goes on to say, let the love of God shine upon you by your acceptance of me. So we're accepting Jesus. My reality is yours and his, meaning God's. Reach for my hand because you want to transcend the ego. So I thought about, I have a picture of Jesus. So I'm going to show it to you. This woman named Glenda Green got a vision of this and painted it, and it's on the internet. And this is Jesus, how she presents him. Now, what I realized, when I rest in the Buddha, I would visualize what Buddha looked like, and then I'd lean back into his body. So what I'm asking, Jesus is saying, you join your mind with mine, reach your hand out and let me touch my hand. So I'm showing you a picture, and you go out and find a picture, if you so feel this way, about Jesus. And then when you're meditating or sitting in your chair or whatever, call upon that picture of Jesus. There's a person, a body. He's enlightened, and he's here with you. He's here with all of us in spirit and enlightened nature. But you can lean back into him and join your mind with his and reach out and grab his hand. So when you're walking around at home or at the grocery store, just picture Jesus that's walking with you. You're joined with him. And when you join with him, you take on the qualities and the characteristics of Jesus, of the enlightened Jesus. It naturally will go into your mind. His thoughts will, because you've accepted him. Remember, see what he says here? Because your acceptance of me. So a thing I'm asking you to do is accept him into your life. Not the way religions do, because he can't save you from all this. You've got to knowingly, willingly accept him in your life and choose to ask him, show me, guide me what to do or say, and through the day, how I can think more holy thoughts. And he will give you insights. But anyway, so I want to read. This is in page 144 of the course, 144 in the course. And that's in chapter 8. That is section IV, the gift of freedom. Here's what Jesus says. Because the world is the belief that love is impossible, if you will accept the fact I am with you, is denying the world and accepting God. Now, look here what he's doing. I never understood this until that Dzogchen group started chanting and praying about taking refuge in the Buddha. He's asking you to take refuge in him and accept Jesus. That's page 144. You're denying, here's what he said, if you accept the fact I am with you, that's Jesus talking, you're denying the world and accepting God. So when you accept him, you accept God. Because the unconscious mind's afraid of God. There's so many layers here that I won't get into that. But then on page 145, paragraph 2, sentence 4, Jesus says, oh, so this in this separation, seeming separation, it's all an illusion, delusion, except for God and heaven are not illusions and delusions. We feel separate from our brothers. We feel separate from God, and we don't know our own damn identity. So we feel alone and separate. And the thing I realized by taking refuge in the Buddha, the Christ, the truth, in the support community, you're no longer alone. So ego can't rant and rave on you like it did, because you're doing things to feel not alone and not separate. It's huge. It's huge. But anyway, so page 145, paragraph 2, sentence 4. Separation is overcome by union, So see, you joining your mind with Jesus's. Your mind is the mechanism of decision. It is the power by which you separate or join, experience pain or joy. My decision cannot overcome yours, meaning your will, you're the power. We're equal powers, he says in that section, but he can't overcome your decision that you're not going to join with him. He's telling you, but I want you to, but he can't overcome your will. God's sons are equal in will, all being the will of their Father. But he wants you to join on this page 145, paragraph, looks like 7, if I wrote that. This is Jesus talking. I am nothing without the Father, and you are nothing without me. Now, boy, I tell you, some of these things I found like floored me. Look what he wrote. You are nothing without him. Because then you're just a little separate ego wandering around. But once in a while, you might touch on the light or feel peace or joy. But if you really want to escalate this awakening, is accept him. You're nothing without me. In our remembrance of each other lies our remembrance of God. So as you remember Jesus, he's telling you, you're remembering God, because he's remembered that he's one with God, and he's helping us remember we're in union with each other. But anyway, and in this remembrance lies your freedom, because freedom is in him. See, our hand wrote this, is in him, H-I-M. That means God, capital H. Okay, I'm going to read that back again. In our remembrance of each other lies our remembrance of God. And in this remembrance lies your freedom, because freedom is in him. So there it is again. Freedom is in God. You live in God, God's mind. You are in God. He's in us right now. We're interbeing in him right now. Join then with one in praise of him and you whom he created. By offering freedom, you will be free. So this, in those sentences, that's page 145, paragraph 7, as you offer freedom to your brothers, then you will be free. That's how it works. If you don't offer your brothers freedom, you're still in prison. You might say sentences like I'm free, but it's this part about this, your brothers, how we think of our brothers and what we're silently saying to them. Join them with one in praise of him, meaning God, and you whom he created. By offering freedom, you will be free. This is page 147, paragraph 2, sentence 10. Let the love of God shine upon you by your acceptance of me. Now, the love of God is this union, this extension. That's all, that's what God is, this extension of love. And you are too. My reality is yours, and capital H-I-S, his, meaning God. By joining your mind with mine, you are signifying your awareness that the will of God is one. Again, that's paragraph 2, sentence 10, page 147. 147, that's in the undivided will of sonship. Then I've got a little note here. I want to read entire paragraph 3 and 4. All right, this is on page 147. God's oneness and ours are not separate because his oneness encompasses ours. Now, see what we're talking about here is what is the will of God? The will of God is that we're all one. We're all in union. That's the will of God for us to remember this. Remember this. God's oneness and ours are not separate because his oneness encompasses ours. To join with me, meaning that's Jesus asking you, is to restore his, capital H, his power to you because we are sharing it. He says, join with me, and because I've accepted God's power, then you get it. You get it through me. This is really so powerful. I never got it. I offer you only the recognition of his power in you, but in that lies all truths. As we unite with him. So as you unite with your brother or with Jesus, you unite with God. Glory be to the union of God and his holy sons. I never understood this before. All glory lies in them because they are united. Them is capitalized. Glory be to the union of God and all his holy sons. The miracles we do bear witness to the will of the Father for his Son and to our joy in uniting with his will for us. His will is that we recognize our union. When you unite with me, you are uniting without the ego because I, meaning that's Jesus, have renounced the ego in myself and therefore cannot unite with your ego. Our union is therefore the way to renounce the ego in you. Isn't that wonderful? Now, you don't have to believe this. It's called faking it while you make it. So you join with Jesus and just believe what he's writing is true. The truth in both of us is beyond the ego. Our success, and here's the word, transcending the ego, is guaranteed by God. And I share this confidence for both of us and all of us. Isn't that great? I bring God's peace back to all his children because I received it of him for us all. Nothing can prevail against our united wills because nothing can prevail against God's. Now let's see, I'm supposed to, the 3 and 4. Okay, that's that. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Paragraph 5, sentence 8. On this journey, you have chosen me as your companion instead of the ego. Now, I want to ask y'all, have y'all ever thought about accepting Jesus as your companion? I mean, I hadn't until I started thinking about taking refuge and rest in the Buddha, and I would change it to the Jesus. I can take rest in Jesus. Oh man, refuge, lean back and just rest my weary heart and mind. Oh man, quit doing all this stuff and just be, just rest. Oh, but anyway, then I want to read that again. On this journey, you have chosen me, that's Jesus, as your companion instead of the ego. Then paragraph 6 says, reach therefore for my hand. Duh. Wow. Okay, I think I read the second page of my 2 pages. So I'm going to go back to page 1. Oh, you guys. Whew. Now, on page 1, I went and started on page 141 in the Course in Miracles, and that's the holy encounter. And in that first paragraph, whew, boy, Jesus writes such huge truths, just lays them out there. But wow, if in a heartbeat, if you could just accept these in a nanosecond, by reading this and just quieting your mind and just read it and ask the Holy Spirit to help you assimilate this. Here's what Jesus says. Ask for light and learn that you are is in italics, light. If you want understanding and enlightenment, you will learn it because your decision to learn it is a decision to listen to the teacher who knows of light and can therefore teach it to you. Okay, let's see. That's what I wanted to read there. Then paragraph 2 at the bottom, to fulfill the will of God perfectly is the only joy and peace that can be fully known because it's the only function that can be fully experienced. And so what's to fulfill the will of God perfectly is the only joy and peace. So as you accept your union with God and all your brothers, that's when this joy and peace starts to emanate throughout your form and mind once in a while. Then free will of fill the will of God. Let's see what. Fulfill the will of God is to know your union in him. Oh, there you go. That's paragraph 2 at the bottom of page 141. Then on 142, paragraph 3, sentence 5, Jesus says, you who belong in God. Then that same page, paragraph 4, there's a whole paragraph. When you meet anyone, remember it's a holy encounter. And that's that whole beautiful paragraph where I'm going to read it. When you meet anyone, remember it's a holy encounter. This is the part about, besides Jesus, we're taking Jesus' hand and walking with him, is what we're thinking about all these different brother and sisters we meet at the gas line and grocery store or at the traffic light. As you see him, as you meet anyone, as you see him, you will see yourself. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. As you think of him, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in him you will find yourself or lose yourself. Whenever 2 sons of God meet, they're given another chance at salvation. Do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself. For I am always there, that's Jesus talking, with you in remembrance of you, meaning your higher identity. So the thing that's that same advanced forgiveness that we talk about each week and that you probably have in your notes or your journal, where it's, do you either see the flesh or the spirit? How do you think of your brother? But Jesus, this is in called the Holy Encounter, section 3 in chapter 8. And do not leave anyone without giving them salvation. Now, this is literal. So we have sticky little notes. You might have one in your car or on your purse or in your wallet. When you pull out your credit card, there it is. How am I thinking about that cashier? Really? And then you just say spirit or God to them, and then off you go. But it's huge because everything you think, say, and do, your unconscious mind thinks it's about you. You can help yourself wake up. All right, paragraph 5. Then Jesus says, that's on page 142, that same section, Holy Encounter. The goal of the curriculum is know thyself. So Jesus is saying this whole course, the goal of it is to know thyself. That's why we're believing you're Christ, you're Buddha, you're God. We just say these things because they're the truth. And ultimately, you will believe this. When the ego, here's the quote, when the ego tries to find your power and glory in yourself alone because it does not know where to look. Okay, so see, the ego, this is the gist of my teaching tonight. The ego has us out here looking in ourself to find salvation. And he's saying here, you can't find your power and glory and your salvation in yourself alone, because that's the me, not going to the we. How are we thinking of our brothers, bringing our brothers into this joint living arrangement, how we think we're living here. The Holy Spirit teaches you that if you look only at yourself, you cannot find yourself. Now, see, we're talking about here knowing thyself. If you only look at yourself, you cannot find yourself, because that's a separate, alone, A-L-O-N-E, person. That's why we want this union, thinking that we're joined, accepting Jesus. Then you start accepting your brother and sisters as children of God, and we're all in this together, interconnected in this light, interbeing in this light. We're all in this together. They are you. You can't find yourself. If you look only at yourself, you can't find yourself, because that is not what you are. You are not this self-concept, this single person being. That's called, and we've talked about that last week, giving up the thought of a self-concept, that this separate personality, male, female, husband, wife, doesn't mean we don't have responsibilities in the relative world. I'm not saying give all that stuff up. I'm just talking about us contemplating, thinking about what our true identity is as the spirit, a clear love light of spirit. And see how I talk about clear love light, this clear, spacious light, that this living force is soaked with love, unconditional love, because unconditional love, God did not stop the Son of God from creating the Garden of Eden and then falling asleep. He didn't stop any of that, because you've got this will. You've got this will equal to God and equal to Jesus and Buddha. And they're all, they can't stomp on your will. They can't interrupt it. Unconditional love soaks this clear love light. That's God and you in your true identity. You cannot find, because that is not what you are. Whenever you are with a brother, you are learning what you are, because you are teaching what you are. So what am I teaching? My brother, if I'm standing there and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's a dumb, ugly looking, the ego can really tear people apart about looks, what they're saying, their politics. It can just tear them apart in heartbeat. So then all we're doing is we're having awakened awareness to be aware that those thoughts that were going on in the mind, that I've agreed with them, instead of letting them come and go, oh, I'm not thinking that way. They're spirit, they're God. And see, that's when you're taking charge, and you're teaching your brother silently what they are, and then you're teaching yourself what you are. What goes around comes around. What you reap, you sow. Because I'm not kidding you. Everything we think, say, or do goes in the unconscious mind, and then the unconscious mind thinks it's you. It's all about you. So this faking it while you're making it is so powerful, because as you read the course and practice these lessons in the course, or meditate, do the chants and prayers, you're chanting and praying, and you're putting those affirmations and chants and prayers in your unconscious mind. It's stacking, it's going, and it's more powerful than ego. So it's cutting through the delusion, cutting through. But you might think, well, no, I don't think like I'm improving, but you are improving, or you wouldn't be here. You would have given this up long ago. It takes persistence, because in a second, there's 100 nanoseconds. So picture in 100 times in a second, there's knee-jerk reactions to everything, but we're not aware of them because that's just so many thoughts. But then ultimately you become aware there's all this chatter. As you meditate, you're aware more and more, oh, it's just chatter, no way. Before, we were asleep in the chatter, not aware that we were agreeing, have an attachment or aversion to thoughts or sensations that I agreed with, the sound or sight or taste, and went off on a tangent with the stuff. Granted, we still get to sort and decide what food we want to eat and what kind of car you want to drive. I'm not talking about the relative world. But anyway, we're becoming aware of what's going on in this mind, this clear light, God mind. And picture, it's like a mirror. If you stand in front of the mirror in your bathroom, that's clear. That is mirror like. It's clear. It's radiant. But what shows up on it is whatever walks out in front of it, an image. But you walk away from the mirror and then stick your head in the room, the mirror's blank. There's nothing there. Then more images show up. These are these thoughts and images that karmic things that in the flow that come before your face. They're reflections on this clear light God mind. I'm not kidding. It's true. But we've believed all that was the reality of truth. But not so. That's these dreamlike images, mirages, hallucinations, projections. But this clear light God mind is forever creating. It's never going to stop. It creates images. It's just fun. It's just, and it may not look like fun on some stuff, but it can make poems, make paintings, can have a garden. There's various things in write books, creative things you do, but then their creativity is all these other things as well, war, all that other stuff. But as we become more virtuous and thinking loftier thoughts and loving thoughts, we don't want to be at war with our brothers. We don't want to harm anything, etc. So it changes this talk, this inner dialogue that we have. It becomes loftier and loftier, holier and holier, because you're letting go of these thoughts and judgments, right? It's beautiful. Isn't it beautiful how this purifies and cleans? Even though it's an illusion, you're whole, pure, and innocent right now. We're just veiled, that beautiful, clear mirror with these thoughts and images. And see, even this form is whole, pure, and innocent because the light radiates out every cell. You embody Christ, Buddha, God in the form. Your body, speech, and mind becomes awakened and enlightened. And that's Jesus walked the earth and was helping his brothers and sisters. Buddha walked the earth. They're here now in spirit to help us, etc. But anyway, wow. Boy, A Course in Miracles. Thank you, Jesus, for A Course in Miracles. And thank you, Buddha, for Dzogchen, the Dharma truths, because I cleave to God in the truths, the Dharma, the truths. Anyway, I want to keep reading here. This is so good. You are learning what you are because you are teaching. So just think about that. Write that down. You're learning what you are by what you teach. And that means, what the hell am I saying to my family, friends, and neighbors? And what am I thinking silently? Right before I go to sleep or wake up, be aware of what's going on in your mind. Take charge of that mind and tell it, I'm going to lean back in Jesus. Now, Jesus, you're in charge here today. I accept you. I'm holding your hand. I'm leaning back. I've joined my mind with yours. Help me awaken from this illusion. See, you're then affirming Jesus is your companion. He wants you to do this. Never forget your responsibility to him, that means your brother, because it's your responsibility to yourself. Give him, meaning your brother, his place in the kingdom, and you will have yours. So you give your brother his place in the kingdom. He's a Christ, he's a Buddha, he's God in the kingdom, meaning of heaven, nirvana, this peace, this joy, this union, this interconnectedness. See, look through all these forms here. There's light just radiating through every form continuously. Continuously, it's clear light. You don't see it. It's flowing, it flows, and it brings all these images in front of your face because it's an energy, a prana. That's the way it relates in this dual looking world. It's and it's not what karma is, not what shows up in front of your face, but what you do with it. How do you respond to it and take responsibility for it? How am I seeing my brother? What am I thinking? And as you think, that makes your future karma. Oh yeah. What you're thinking today makes your future karma. And picture today's karma was based on what the heck you were thinking yesterday or this whole lifetime. Or what have you been thinking? See, you've been practicing different truths, and it's bringing you to this point. But how you think today brings you to tomorrow. It's beautiful. You are in charge of your own destiny, your own freedom, your own freedom. Yeah, that's the miracle of it all. Nobody else can do this. You are responsible for your own freedom. Oh, and that's a big deal because you can free your mind by just seeing, just hearing, just thinking without labeling, naming, or judging. You let a sound go through your hearing gate, through that clear mind that's the altar to God. Yeah, what you're seeing, your thing. There's vertical, great ray, cord of light is coming in and bringing light in and out. But that's this spaciousness. And you can center on that and then be aware of these thoughts come and go. Your mind wanders off. Jesus says you're too tolerant of mind wandering. Well, that's because you're awakening your mind, you have an awakened awareness of what the heck you're thinking, grabbing onto, or pushing away. Anyway, let's go on to this quote here. Give your brother his place in the kingdom, and you will have yours. The kingdom cannot be found alone. There's again that word. See, in the separation, that's what causes desperation, suffering. We think we're alone. So guess what? We go, and in the culture, we have partners, husband, wives, or whomever we have, companions. And if we're not careful, we're finding fulfillment and wholeness in them. One and one does not equal two. One plus one equals one. But the world doesn't teach you that. I forgot I didn't say that right. 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. 1 plus 1 equals 1. Means you are whole. When you recognize your wholeness, WHOLENESS, your wholeness, your perfection, your innocence, then you're having unconditional love and seeing the wholeness and perfection in your mate, in your children. You still set ground rules. You're not doormats to anything. We still take care of the form. We don't walk out in front of a car, but there's just this balance. But the bigger thing is your wholeness is what you want to recognize. Your wholeness, innocence, and purity is just veiled by thoughts and concepts, habitual habits and patterns that we repeat. They're just habits. They're just errors that you can undo. And that's this Course of Miracles. It's mind training. You're undoing the mind from thinking this same old egoic ways. But the kingdom can't be found alone. That's why you're doing this with Jesus, and you're bringing your brother with you, your family members, the grocery store people, the politicians. The kingdom cannot find yourself alone. Oh, wait a minute. Kingdom cannot be found alone. And you who are the kingdom cannot find yourself alone. That's good. Page 143, paragraph 8. This is sentence 5.5. You will remember what you are in him. Him means God. In. I-N. I'm bringing this up because I'm not kidding you, folks. I didn't know I was in God. I did not know it. Didn't honest. I don't know where I thought God was, or I was of God, or a projection laying on God lied. I mean, because the Course says these are projections. These images are. But in the enlightenment, the form becomes enlightened. And so the light is going through us. We're in God. This image is in God, even though it's a projection, it's an illusion. There's only the purity of God. In the absolute, there's no images. And when you're in the absolute, you have not even an awareness, because awareness means there's something here that's seeing something. In the absolute, and people can experience it once in a while, and if they do it very often, then they lay the body aside because they joined with God. And the only way you know you've been in that union, that absolute union with God, you come back and realize, well, I was gone somewhere, but now I'm aware there's a room here. I forget the word for it. It might be samadhi. And that's when in meditation, like when I follow the ah sound, see, that's what's beautiful about the breath. How are we doing here? The breath, take the deep breath in. Because see, this can bring you to the moment, the breath, the moment. And then that's when you have that nanosecond and you're thinking, what was I thinking, saying, or doing? Brings you into the now, the present moment called nowness awareness. But then that's the breath. So the breath in, but on the exhale, just follow that breath out, the ah. Just follow the breath out and connect and dissolve with it. And when you do that, you experience that union with God, that spaciousness that's here, the God that's here now, that union I'm talking about here. So you just follow the out breath. Ah, remember, AH is the call to God. It truly is. And he is repeating, that time I experienced that in various frequencies, and before I knew it, the ah sound went off by itself. Like ah. And the only reason it stopped was I stopped. It was gone. It was going. It was not me saying this. That was Holy Spirit just showing me there's a living force. That's when I realized there's a living force that's real. But before then, it's faking it while you make it. But you'll have these moments of awareness and awakening where you have no doubt. And then that makes you more determined and confident. I can practice this and integrate this into your daily life. That's the practice. That's called the path, having a path of practice. But anyway, all right, let's see where I am. Oh, 143, paragraph 1 at the bottom. When you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in him. That's God again. You don't believe you're in God, that you're live in God. So you just kind of fake it while you make it, and you can just, picture that clear light is like a sun, like the sun let's just say the sun is in your heart. And it's got these rays that are just constantly radiating out. Now you can also picture it. I don't care where you picture it. It can be in your third eye, it can be on your crown chakra. or your whole head. The sun is the Son of God, the light that you are. It radiates out, in and out. So you're in God. You are in Him. When you exempt yourself from His laws, you will feel lonely and helpless. Now, see, that's what I want you to come away from this teaching is in the separation, that's what happened. We feel alone, helpless, distraught, wearied, suffering, miserable, because we don't know we're in union with God and that we're in union with Jesus or Buddha and all these enlightened beings and all this light. So that's why we're practicing the Course in Dzogchen and meditating, because you can have that moments where you dissolve and connect and merge once in a while in that light. Or you can you just sense it. You realize what I'm saying is true. And as the barriers drop, as these thoughts and concepts that have armored, like the onion, in the middle of the onion's the arc of light, and it's layered by all the thoughts, concepts, and judgments that were not holy. And you're peeling those away. But see, Dzogchen teaches in a heartbeat, you can wake the heck up. This doesn't have to take years. But with dedicated practice, what's it say? With more practice, you become accident prone. I mean, it works as you practice this and develop your own path of truths, dharma, it's called. So I'm going to summarize here. Is Jesus says, by joining your mind with mine, you are signifying your awareness that the will of God is one. Let the love of God shine upon you by your acceptance of me. My reality is yours and his. Reach, therefore, for my hand because you want to transcend the ego. So that's, you picture whatever, find some picture you can believe in about Jesus, because that helps for a person because I realized I rested and could lean back in this clear light because somehow I got that great ray to open up and download. But that's not common for folks. So then that's why it's more to take an image and join with that, like Jesus's image or Buddha's image. And that's what Dzogchen says. In the Buddha, and the Dharma, and the Sangha, we take refuge until fully enlightened. Because when fully enlightened, you've remembered what you are, you've uncovered that natural Buddha, natural God self, and you're enlightened. And you don't have to, and then you're resting, you're God, and you just are inner being, walking around, sitting in your chair, doing dishes. You're totally driving the car, you're interbeing in God. That's the deal. Now you're always alert and awakeful. We're not talking about zoning out here. Now, before I stop recording, anyone have a question or a thought while I'm in recording? If not, then, we want to take a second and look at each tile on the screen, because what did Jesus say? Never forget your responsibility to your brother, because it's your responsibility to yourself. Give him his place in the kingdom and you will have yours. So this is kind of selfish. You want to release all your brothers because then you release yourself. It's so true. Holy God Barbie, Holy God Terry, Holy God Corrine, Holy God Debbie and Lynn, Holy God Lynn, Holy God Gabby, Holy God Leon, Holy God Julia, Holy God Danelle, Holy God Joan, Holy God Glenda. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming out tonight. Now, I interrupted y'all. Any thought or comment before we hang up? Now, Terry, you had a question and I tried to answer it, but
And Glenda, you did amazing because I've had a tough time this week falling back into the dream. So, what you helped me with is remembering how far I have come, knowing that I am aware of my thoughts and just the persistence, just to stay with it and to stay aware and then to center back. And I loved what you said about the breath. And I even picked up one of your old teachings, believe it or not, from 2723. it was what I needed, just about remembering the vertical light. And so that was my question before you started recording, is how you did it. And your response to me was persistence. So I've got my needs met tonight. It was amazing teaching. Thank you.
You said something that, what was it in the beginning? Something came to me and I wanted to, um, now your question is, is you were having a little difficult time in the last few
Yes.
days or so. Now just picture that prior to whatever you teachings you're following and practicing, one could almost say 90 to 100% of the time, we weren't even aware how we were in the egoic thought of that this world out there was the real world. And this is how we are angry, we react, we would have the reptilian kind of automatic reactiveness. And although that we can go to psychotherapy because we're going like, something's not quite right here. I'm not happy, not happy. But picture how that was 90, 100%. So what happens as we become awake and aware more of our thoughts and trying to practice just seeing, just hearing, just thinking, and catching when we're labeling and judging those thoughts, sights, or hearings, you're becoming awake. So let's just say you're 50-50 awake. But that means 50% of the time, ego can wreak havoc on you, and then I'm reacting. And 1 out of 2 times, I'm reacting. And so don't beat yourself up because you're at 50%.
Where I
So then,
wasn't before.
yes, before we were at 90 or 100%,
Right.
right? But then there's the steps Jesus talks about where we fall back. Because what will happen as you practice more and more and uncover these repressed and denied thoughts and feelings that we are surfacing,
That's what's
that we
happening.
then, yes, then you journal them. You don't deny them, don't repress them because culture has done this. We're not wallowing in them. That's the other thing. We don't wallow in them, but you're aware of them and you're asking Holy Spirit and Jesus to help you with them. But it boils down to how you think of the people or events in that whatever came up. Or did you now you think of them as God, as
Mm-hmm.
spirit? I love you,
Yeah.
God. So but just picture that'll fall back and then you'll jump forward and have maybe 80%. But then picture that a second can have 100 nanoseconds in it. As we purify and let go, meaning letting go of these old habits, these old ways of I want and I don't want, sorting and labeling, then that's more stuff gets brought up. And every miracle of healing that you do of your mind and how you think of someone, it's not one for one. You could end up cleaning up 1,000 judgments and you don't even know you're doing it.
Wow.
It's powerful because picture if there's 100, and there is nanoseconds in a second, think of the piles of judgments we egos knee jerkedly done over 30, 40, 50 years, and we've agreed to it.
That's
And so
exactly what's happening. Exactly.
piled in there. Yes, but now we're aware and we're letting, so don't let that scare you. But yet you journal and you might need to take a walk or just give yourself a break and go look at some green grass or some blue sky and give yourself a break from the practice. And a favorite food or ice cream, I don't know, just a second, a little reward. Look what the heck I've done here. It's beautiful.
Is. Thank
What
you.
we're doing is hugely powerful because you're helping. What each of you are doing is helping the 8 billion so-called sentient beings. But that doesn't take into account all the bugs and insects and animals because they're sentient beings, their spirit, their light, and then incarnated in these different forms. You're helping billions, probably it's billions of sentient beings on this path that they know nothing. They believe all this is reality.
So deep.
It is, it is,
So
it's
deep.
wondrous, but we don't put ourselves in harm's way. There's the relative and the absolute, and we're incorporating the two. We still have fun, and like I'm having my kitchen redone now that I've sold my house, and working with the people and whatever. We still make these improvements. Oh, but I know here's something else that came up is change, is change. What happens in this relative world, the physical world, the bottom line is it's impermanent. There's impermanence and unsatisfactoriness. And that just drives people crazy because they do not want change. I want to hang on. I want this same stuff. My family, my friends, this car better not tear up, but in this relative world, things live and die, change, grow old, age, things happen. That's this relative samsara, hell. And we are accepting and allowing that to flow. Let that come and go because your eternal spirit is immortal. It is not changing. God does not change. It's immortal and permanent. And as you recognize that, you're less and less dissatisfied. Because see, what happens with change, we become unsatisfied. Oh, I don't like any of this. Now quit that, push that away. I don't want that. I want this, right? Keep this the same. Well, we're learning to let go. Let go means to let come and go and let be. Let be. It's really difficult, but that's what we're learning to do. Our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but yet we're guided, your feelings tell you, Jesus says, use your feelings to tell you which voice you've agreed with. But feelings also tell you, oh, hold it, I got some pain in my leg. Maybe I might want to get that checked out because I'm wanting to keep the form going as I'm waking up from the dream. I teach the middle way, this balance. But anyway, pat yourself on the back. It's not pride that you continue to practice. But tonight, I'm just wanting to affirm Jesus is asking you to bring him in as your companion. Because as you accept him, he can give, you join your mind with his, he can give you all that you've opened up to him. He can give you all these truths. It's so powerful because we're opening to spirit and Buddha, Christ. When you open to Jesus, you open then to all the enlightened beings, Buddha, which Holy Spirit. Oh man, it goes in, it just ripples to the magnitude of all this, y'all. Thanks, Terry. Oh
Thank
my,
you.
for coming out. Any other thought or comment? Because I'm over my time here, but it's okay. People love hearing your questions and thoughts. There's nothing else. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. I so appreciate you all. Thank you, thank you. I love you all. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, thank you. You're right, it's reminders. We come here to be reminded and then I pick out certain truths, but we're to remember to practice. Just always this practice and we're awakening. Our awareness is going from ordinary awareness, egoic, regular awareness, to awakened awareness, the big capital A awareness, where you're aware of spirit, of God, of Christ, Buddha. Your thinking is changing, right? And there's Corrine. Thank you, Corrine, for coming out, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording.